If you couldn't tell by the title, today we are going to be looking at ancient Egypt, and more importantly, the Great Pyramid. It is something that has just baffled my brain, and it has just been such a huge interest of mine for so many years now. But this video alone, it honestly just blew my mind. I watched it last night and I thought, you know what? I want to share this and I want everyone else to see this too. The channel is called Universe Inside You. This video blew my mind. Like, I genuinely love this stuff. It's a huge passion of mine. So if you enjoy this stuff too, or even if you just want to watch it for the sake of maybe learning something new, please like the video and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Universe Inside You. Let's go. I pray that these videos are not copyrighted, because otherwise this will be a very waste of a video. But I watched this whole thing last night and my mind was blown, so hopefully we'll be okay. Jesus, it's been a minute since I've made like a ancient history video as well, and yeah, it's kind of the only thing I'm interested in right now. Well, and ghosts, but yeah.
The Great Pyramid of Giza, an architectural and engineering masterpiece.
I cannot wait to go here, bro.
One of the most remarkable achievements
2
in
months.
human history, embodying a level of precision and sophistication that still baffles researchers and scholars today. This monument holds within its stone secrets and traces of advanced technology that we are only beginning to understand.
One thing I will say, I don't know how much I'm going to be pausing and all that sort of stuff. It could just be that I'm just in awe watching it. I will do my best to sort of react, but most of the time my reaction is just, I can't believe the engineering that went into this. Yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it, because my thoughts are, I do not believe that this was just built by your average person, because it's physically impossible. But we'll get into that more later anyway.
Just when you approach the pyramid, you can start seeing these traces of advanced technology. For example, there are many basalt stone blocks with vertical machine marks on them. The presence of vertical lines meticulously carved into basalt, a material not native to the pyramid's vicinity, raise immediate questions about the tools and methods employed by the ancients. These lines, distinct from mere scratches, display a pattern indicative of saw marks, suggesting the use of advanced machining technology far beyond the capabilities of bronze chisels or saws, even when aided by abrasive materials like silica sand.
I cannot wait to go here, man, honestly.
Uncovers additional examples that hint at the utilization
rounded tool markings,
of older, yet highly advanced
talking about here.
techniques.
Oh, sorry, like
For
here.
instance, remnants of saw cuts with diameters approximating 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch reveal not only the precision, but also the possibility of curved cuts, potentially pointing towards the use of giant circular saws. This evidence contradicts the traditional narrative that attributes the pyramid's construction to simple tools and manual labor. In front of the second pyramid, we can find many remnants of molten granite within channels extending from the pyramid towards the Sphinx. A particularly striking discovery is a limestone block with a channel of molten granite running through it, showcasing a vivid array of colors and hinting at the intense heat it must have endured. This, along with areas of charred granite and limestone, raises intriguing questions about the processes and events that led to these conditions. Observations of the original external casing stones further complicate the story. The extremely tight fit between these stones suggests a level of craftsmanship and precision that is difficult to reconcile with the tools supposedly available during the pyramid's construction. The Great Pyramid and its two smaller
there you go, look, the Orion's
placed
belt
in the exact same manner as the 3 stars that make up Orion's belt. The last time the pyramids aligned with Orion's belt was about 10,450 years ago. This strongly suggests...
See, this is the thing as well. So the current accepted date for the pyramids to have been built is about 4,500 years ago. but that's going off. I think it's like carbon dating and stuff, which is so inaccurate because a lot of the work that was done within that sort of time period, people are theorizing that it's actually repairs that they done to it, the same way that they did with the Sphinx as well. Because the Sphinx, if you notice it, if you actually have a look at it properly, the head is not in proportion to the body, and I don't think that was a mistake. I think that the head was recarved into what was already there, which could have been a lion, it could have been like the dog head. I think it was like Anubis or whatever it's called. No one knows, but I do genuinely believe that the pyramid and the Sphinx are considerably older than 4.5, which is the current accepted date. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. Even if you have any, you might not have any. But if one thing I will say is, this isn't quite a conspiracy theory, because history is one of those things where no one really knows. Like, everyone is guessing, and it's basically whoever's guess makes the most sense, which I think is great and it's really exciting. So I don't think this is so much a dangerous conspiracy to have, and it's quite an exciting rabbit hole to go down if this sort of stuff interests you, which for me, I'm in way too deep now. Like, there's no stopping, there's no backing down now.
The pyramids are at least 10,000 years old and are probably much older. Perhaps that would explain why there's no mention of the pyramids or their creation in any of the Egyptian writings. Such evidence challenges the established chronology of Egyptian history and suggests that the Great Pyramid, and possibly its neighbors, might have pre-existed the dynastic Egyptian civilization. Most people think that the pyramids of Giza are just these 3 large pyramids. However, the complex is filled with numerous smaller structures, including many small pyramids that still bear their original casing stones. There are also numerous shafts and tunnels like the Osiris shaft, which hint at the notion that there's a massive subterranean complex below the Giza plateau.
It's just ridiculous.
At 115 feet, or 35 meters below the surface, the Osiris shaft leads to what is referred to as the Tomb of Osiris. It features a granite sarcophagus at the center of a chamber, surrounded by an artificial canal filled with water. The question that naturally arises is, how did they ensure a reliable water source to fill this canal? And moreover, how did they manage to maintain the water at precisely the right level? The only plausible explanation for this feat is the existence of an advanced underground hydrological system of chambers and tunnels in the vicinity, specifically designed to harness and direct water from a natural spring into the shaft. The solid bedrock in the area rules out the chance of random leaks, further supporting the theory that the water is supplied via a deliberately constructed concealed channel. The implications of such a channel are profound, indicating a monumental subterranean engineering project unparalleled in its time. The true purpose of this subterranean structure is a mystery, and there aren't any ladders or any other method to even go down there. So how did they manage to place massive granite sarcophagi weighing up to 40 tons each inside the structure? Furthermore, the decision to bring these massive granite boxes underground instead of carving them directly into
When I watched this last night, I was just obviously in complete awe. But if you actually take the time to think while you're watching this, this stuff is like 35 meters under the surface. Like, these people had built around it, then added these things, and then built on top of them. This is like quite literally impossible. Like, I don't even know. It's so hard to put it into words.
Purpose was attached to these objects or the material they were made of. There was one sarcophagus that was not made of granite, though. It was made from dacite, a material that was not used for any other known object in ancient Egypt's history. Not only that, this material cannot be found anywhere in Africa. This means that whoever built the shaft transported this massive 40-ton dacite sarcophagus over vast distances, possibly from across the Mediterranean.
And look at that.
The application of advanced dating techniques has revealed that the shaft is most likely at least 5,000 years old, pushing back the timeline of this site to pre-dynastic periods. The Serapeum of Saqqara is an ancient Egyptian necropolis located near Cairo, which is renowned for its assemblage of massive granite boxes believed to be sarcophagi. These boxes,
Look at these.
crafted with astonishing precision,
All of these
have
underground.
sparked considerable debate about their creation. The extraordinary craftsmanship evident in these granite boxes suggests the use of advanced technology far beyond what is traditionally attributed to the ancient Egyptians.
Because this is another thing as well, right? Everyone will just look at this and be like, yeah, so what? We're talking at minimum 4,500 years ago, right? With the precision that they're cutting through. Like you can't do that by hand. And if you could, which I'm telling you right now, it's impossible. But even if you could, you would never get it to the accuracy that they do. We're talking about like flat surfaces that are like 180.5 or 6 degrees, which even to do that by hand, to do 180 degrees flat is impossible. And then to do a corner at solid 90 degrees by hand, no, it's not happening. Watch this. Honestly, it's impossible.
The Serapeum of Saqqara is hewn from a single piece of granite, a material known for its extreme
And the size of this as well.
hardness. The boxes are enormous, with some weighing up to 70 tons, including the lid and base. This means that the blocks from which they were carved would have been weighing around 200 tons. The precision with which these boxes have been crafted is remarkable. Their corners are perfectly square, and the flat surfaces are exquisitely smooth, with an accuracy that rivals modern machining capabilities. This level of precision,
Like perfectly
achieved
straight.
several millennia ago, is astounding and has led to the speculation that the ancient Egyptians had access to advanced technology,
Look at that.
possibly lost to time.
Make
One of the
it make
most
sense.
striking features of these boxes is their interior surfaces, which are equally precise and smooth as the exteriors. Achieving such accuracy on the inside of a stone box, particularly with the tools supposedly available at the time, seems impossible. The walls of the boxes are of uniform thickness, suggesting the use of sophisticated measuring.
Look at that,
and
90
cutting
degrees
equipment.
dead.
This level of uniformity and precision in stonecraft is rarely found in other ancient Egyptian artifacts, leading to questions about the technology and methods used in their construction. Moreover, the process of hollowing out these massive granite blocks would have required significant understanding and control of stone-cutting techniques. The conventional tools of the ancient Egyptians, primarily made of copper, would have been inadequate for shaping such hard stone with the precision observed. This discrepancy has fueled theories suggesting that the builders of the Serapeum possessed advanced technological knowledge.
Yeah, it must have been. It
Potentially
has to be.
including high-speed drills, diamond-tipped cutting tools, or other sophisticated machinery. Another aspect that intrigues researchers is the purpose of these boxes. Traditionally believed to be sarcophagi for the burial of sacred Apis bulls, this explanation has been questioned due to the box's elaborate and precise construction, which seems excessive for mere burial purposes. Some theorists propose that these boxes were used for purposes that required precise dimensions and smooth surfaces, perhaps related to some form of energy manipulation or scientific process unknown to modern science. Additionally,
Jesus.
the granite boxes also possess acoustic properties. The transportation and placement of these massive boxes are also subjects of wonder. The Serapeum's underground tunnels are narrow and winding, making the movement of such large objects a logistical challenge. Also, why are there no signs of torches, such as burn marks, anywhere in the Serapeum of Saqqara? What kind of lighting did they use to illuminate these underground spaces? In
Questions,
contrast to these
questions.
theories, mainstream archaeology attributes the precision and craftsmanship of the granite boxes to the skill and patience of ancient craftsmen who, over generations, perfected their stone-working techniques. Critics of the advanced technology theory argue that there is no direct archaeological evidence supporting the existence of machinery or tools sophisticated enough to create these boxes in ancient Egypt.
No, not
Creating
4,500 years ago, no
such precision
way.
in ancient
Or
times would have
10,000 years ago
required
for that matter.
not only advanced tools, but also a sophisticated understanding of engineering and geometry. The scale and precision of the boxes in the Serapeum are not replicated in any modern granite quarries, indicating that the ancient Egyptians, or perhaps a pre-existing civilization, had access to technology and knowledge that are not yet fully understood.
And it actually has to be that. It literally, I don't understand why this is even questioned. Like, if you can't tell me how this was done, then you also can't tell me that I'm incorrect. You know what I mean? It's hard. Like, and again, I don't mean me, but I'm talking from the people that have said this over and over again, that we are like Graham Hancock says, we're a species with amnesia, which means that we've forgotten something. We have forgotten how we do things, and now the CIA have just recently released a file that is to do with apparently Mars, and that there's pyramids on Mars, and they were built by giants, and this and that. And this is the CIA that are saying that, and it was all found out with using. There's some sort of thing within the human brain that we can do that we just don't know that we can do. I believe it's called like an astral projection. Again, I don't know much about it. I need to look more into it. But apparently, pyramids have been a thing for millennia, like millions of years, on other planets as well. Which that subject is a bit taboo. It's like, I don't know. It almost sounds a bit magical and woo woo. But when you look at this sort of stuff within the pyramids, and like the astronomical alignment, and even the way that the Sphinx on certain times of the year will face perfectly at a sunrise. That's not done by accident. Do you know what I mean? It's mental.
But let's get back to the Great Pyramid of Giza. According to measurements, the Great Pyramid is the most accurately aligned structure in existence and faces true north with only 3/60ths of a degree of error.
Yeah.
The position of the North Pole moves over time, and the pyramid was exactly aligned at one time. Even more incredibly, the Great Pyramid is located at the center of the landmass of the Earth. The east-west parallel that crosses the most land and the north-south meridian that crosses the most land intersect in two places on the Earth, one in the ocean and the other at the Great Pyramid. This alignment was achieved without the compass, which would not be invented for thousands of years. Such precision suggests a profound understanding of astronomy and possibly the use of star sightings or other advanced methods to determine cardinal directions with astounding accuracy. The builders of the pyramids had such detailed knowledge of the solstices and equinoxes that on the day of the spring equinox, the sun shines directly over the Great Pyramid, and in those few moments the pyramid does not cast a shadow. I'm going
to go back and we're going to listen to that again because... Oh, have I just turned it down? I think I did turn it down. Right. There is a certain time of year, and it only happens on one day, which means that they would have had to have known that. They would have had to have been able to calculate that. On one day, there is a time when the sun rises, the pyramid does not... And considering it's 450 foot high at the moment, I think, and at its peak, it was like 481 foot. But there is a moment where the pyramid, given its absolute monstrosity size, does not cast a shadow. I'm sorry?
Equinox. The sun shines directly over the Great Pyramid, and in those few moments, the pyramid does not cast a shadow. Another interesting feature is the acoustic qualities within the pyramid, particularly within the king's chamber. The chamber is constructed from huge blocks of granite, a material known for its density and sound-reflecting abilities. When vocalizations or sounds are made within this chamber, they resonate, creating a powerful and reverberating acoustic effect. This resonance doesn't merely amplify sound, it seems to enhance it, giving it a quality that is both profound and enduring. Listen to these acoustic demonstrations from Brian Forster's video in which he examines the King's Chamber, together with Youssef Awiyan, an expert of acoustic resonance.
Mate, it's mental. Why would a dead king need a... I didn't even read the rest of it, I'm not gonna lie. Like a acoustic chamber, I think it was. Oh yeah, and you know how, like in my... Like here, for this, for instance, these panels on my wall, they are to stop certain like reverberations and all that sort of stuff, to be able to control the sound, to make it more crisp. That is what certain parts of this is doing and is for. Like, why would you need that? Right, you see the way it's got these indentations. Oh, where's my mouse?
The sound
I
can
missed it.
linger
But anyway,
in the
like the
air
blocks.
far longer than one would expect,
It's
leading researchers to propose
crazy.
that the pyramid's architects might have intentionally incorporated these acoustic features. The specific dimensions and materials chosen for the King's Chamber, and possibly other parts of the pyramid, could have been meticulously selected to achieve
Laser
a
precision.
particular resonance frequency. This suggests a level of knowledge and intentionality in the use of sound that is quite advanced, indicating the practical significance of acoustics in the pyramid's design. One of the most astounding theories of all emerged in the 1960s, thanks to a man named Edward Kunkel. In 1962, Kunkel published a book entitled Pharaoh's Pump, which shook up the world of Egyptology. In it, he argued that the passages and chambers in and beneath the Great Pyramid were the conduits and reservoirs of a giant water pump that would have been used to send water out into the desert to irrigate the land. According to Kunkel, the pyramid actually contained two pumps, one underground, represented by the pyramid's mysterious subterranean chamber, and the other above ground in the middle and upper chambers. Together, they would create two streams that would exit the pyramid through shafts on the north and south sides. Unsurprisingly, Kunkel's work caused great skepticism, not only from Egyptologists who rejected the theory outright, but from engineers who pointed out that Kunkel's design would have required the creation of a vacuum, a number of valves, and some type of combustible fuel and combustion chamber to drive the pump. Yet, not bound by the same restrictions as mainstream Egyptology, many engineers began to look closer at Kunkel's work, realizing that it was not totally without merit. While Kunkel's two-pump design would likely not have been possible, some engineers noted that a ram pump might actually make sense. A ram pump is a simple device used for centuries to move water from a reservoir to somewhere else using two moving parts and the force of gravity. Could the builders of the Great Pyramid really have created a ram pump on such a massive scale? With the possibility established, other researchers and scholars picked up on the idea, designing a theoretical layout in which the Great Pyramid was fed with water from the Western Nile and nearby Lake Moeris, which each sat at a higher elevation, making them the perfect sources for a gravity-fed water system on the Giza Plateau. Some even believe that the retaining wall, which is known to have once surrounded the pyramid complex, could have been an embankment for an on-site reservoir. As more and more people came to believe that the Great Pyramid really could have been an enormous ancient water pump, they were backed by one simple, overarching argument: economics. Think about it. The Great Pyramid is made up of 2.3 million blocks, each weighing between 25 and 80 tons, meaning that if workers moved and laid 12 blocks per hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it would have taken 20 years to construct. More than that, it has been estimated that, adjusted into modern dollar values, the pyramid would have cost more than $5 billion to create.
Jesus
Simply,
Christ.
why go to all this trouble and all this expense just for a tomb? Obviously, Egyptian pharaohs had more leeway than modern, democratically elected leaders, but they were not totally unbound from the realities of finance and economics. Would it not make more sense to go to all this trouble for something which was going to provide a higher return on investment, like, say, a water pump which would allow you to irrigate your civilization and feed your people? Here, we must take a step back in order to get to the point. If the Great Pyramid really was an enormous water pump, then it must have been pumping the water somewhere. This is where some have connected the dots and returned to the mysterious pit at Zawiat El Aryan. They believe that the site was not an unfinished pyramid, but an outflow location for water pumped by the Great Pyramid, the giant pit designed as a reservoir for water pumped in from below.
Jesus Christ.
The discovery of this...
One thing that I will add quickly, just because people are like, oh, some people do say, yeah, but it's all desert, it's all this and it's all that. But thousands of years ago, it wasn't. It was green and it thrived. Like it wasn't the desert we see today. It was actually like grass and trees and all that sort of stuff. Like genuinely, this actually could have been a real thing. No one knows. No one's going to know, I don't believe, unfortunately. But yeah, this it's mental. This whole theory has been floating around for God knows how long. Oh man, I wish that one day within my lifetime we can figure it out.
Granite block, along with subsequent findings of more granite blocks and an enormous 30-ton pink granite block forming the foundation of a sort of pavement, led Barsanti to believe that he had found the entrance to a subterranean world, possibly filled with untold treasures or significant historical artifacts. One of the most remarkable discoveries at the Zawiat El Aryan site was a large oval vat made of pink granite, polished like a mirror and intricately carved out of one of the pavement blocks. The vat's protection, involving a layer of lime and a thick bed of well-spread clay, suggests it held great importance, possibly containing something of value or significance. The side walls of the vat were lined with a black band, possibly the residue of some liquid, pointing to its use in a unique and unknown process. The vat's design and the evident efforts to preserve its integrity suggest it was an integral part of a sophisticated process, possibly related to energy generation or storage. During the excavation of the site by Barsanti and his team in 1905, a massive storm hit Egypt and the pit at Zawiat El Aryan. The torrential rains filled the pit with over 10 feet of water. Incredibly, a few hours after the storm, the water level in the pit abruptly dropped. Surely, Barsanti asserted, this must be because the water was seeping down into some sort of subterranean chamber, into the hidden apartments he believed were waiting to be found beneath the pit. Between the weight of the blocks, the cement-like mortar, and the interlocking pattern, the work was the most difficult his team had ever undertaken. But to Barsanti, this only proved his point. Surely, whoever had constructed the site had gone to such great lengths to make the blocks of the floor unmovable because they were meant to conceal a hiding place, something extremely important. Unfortunately, the work was so difficult that, again, Barsanti ran out of money before he could solve the mystery. Then World War I broke out, shutting the sites of Egypt down to further exploration. In 1917, Barsanti unexpectedly died at the age of 59. Rather than continue Barsanti's work, Egyptologists simply forgot about the site, leaving the mystery of what lay beneath it unsolved. The sudden restriction of access to the Zawiat El Aryan site by the Egyptian government in the 1960s just as interest in its mysteries was renewed, only deepens the intrigue. A military base now stands over the site, and no one can enter it. While definitive proof remains elusive, the architectural complexities
Conspiracy.
and unexplained features of the Zayat El Aryan site, coupled with its proximity to the Great Pyramid, suggest that it may have been part of an advanced technological system for energy generation and distribution in ancient Egypt. It might actually go much further than pumping water for irrigation. Early in 1999, a marine engineer named John Cadman was perusing the shelves at a used bookstore when he stumbled across an old, dusty copy of a most unusual book, Pharaoh's Pump. As an expert in hydraulics, the book intrigued Cadman, so he purchased it and took it home. When he began to read it more closely, he quickly realized that Kunkel's idea was not as ridiculous as he had initially assumed. Wanting to know more, Cadman began to learn everything he could about the Great Pyramid. Almost immediately, what he discovered captivated him. The Great Pyramid's subterranean chamber, he realized, looked eerily like the layout for a ram pump. He took his research further, noting from photographs that the subterranean chamber showed obvious signs of water damage, particularly on the ceiling, where signs of cavitation, which is caused by gas bubbles in water due to violent churning, were evident, as well as clear damage from compression waves striking it. In other words, it was not just that the subterranean chamber could work as a water pump, but according to Cadman's trained eyes, it appeared it had worked as such. At this point, Cadman knew what he had to do. He must draw upon his years of experience with hydraulics and create his own scale model of the pyramid and its subterranean chamber to see if it would really work as a water pump. He built his first model, using a nearby river as a reservoir. Unfortunately, the model did not work, first leaking, then cracking and failing to pump water as he had hoped. But Cadman would not give up that easily. He built another model, then another, both of which suffered the same fate as the first. But on his fourth try, he got everything right, and much to Cadman's delight, his pump worked. This proved to Cadman beyond a doubt that the Great Pyramid could have functioned as a giant water pump, and that surely this was not by accident. It was clear, he asserted, that the creators of the Great Pyramid's subterranean chamber had known exactly what they were doing. This was the breakthrough that disciples of Edward Kunkel's original work had been waiting for, the tangible proof that a Great Pyramid water pump was more than just speculation. And yet, as Cadman continued his research, the results got even more mind-blowing, and in fact, went far beyond the mere pumping of water. Having proved that the Great Pyramid's subterranean chamber could function...
Sorry, I feel like I've just sat here and we're watching it together. But, mate, honestly, it just blows my mind. Like, even if all this is wrong, even if it was just a pyramid and it was built as a tomb, which personally I don't think it was, and even if it was built 4,500 years ago, which again, personally I don't think it was, mate, even if it was, look, the engineering that was behind it is unbelievable. And it just shows just how advanced these people were, whoever these people were. I don't know if it was the Egyptians. I don't want to take it away from them, because I think that even later on, the Egyptians during their time had done unbelievable things. But I just don't know. I don't know. For this to be done by hand, it's I don't know, to me and to a lot of engineers and like people that work with geometry and astrology and all that, this is classed as impossible, but somehow possible because it exists.
Function as a water pump.
Mad.
Cadman built a new, bigger model and encased it in concrete in order to simulate the effects of the pump operating underground. He moved the model, which weighed over 500 pounds, to a seasonal creek with a pond serving as a reservoir. As this model began to work, Cadman immediately noticed something which shocked him. Encased in concrete, the pump was creating a vertical compression wave, a recurring heartbeat-like thump which could be felt through the ground 20 feet away and heard more than 100 feet away. Cadman realized
mate.
that what he had constructed...
Sorry, where was I last night, mate? I mean, I'd had a few drinks, not gonna lie. I do not remember this bit.
Went far beyond just
I watched this whole thing.
Pump. Because of the powerful waves it generated, Cadman renamed the device a pulse generator. Truly, this changed everything. If the Great Pyramid's subterranean chamber was generating pulse waves, these waves would have moved through the granite upper chambers and passageways of the pyramid, and due to granite's reflective properties, created ionization in the atmosphere, in effect, producing an electric field. Put more simply, the pulses created by the subterranean pump would have interacted with the pyramid's granite to produce electricity. It appeared that Cadman had not only proven that the Great Pyramid could function as a water pump to move water around Egypt for irrigation, but one which could actually create electricity in ancient times. Of course, those who have watched this channel before will know that the idea of the Great Pyramid as an electrical generator did not start with John Cadman. In fact, as early as the turn of the 20th century, it appeared prominently in the work of famed inventor Nikola Tesla. But while many of you will already be aware of the work of Tesla, you may not be aware of his obsession with ancient Egypt, and specifically the pyramids, which he studied in detail, wrote about, and incorporated into his work. Consider, in 1905, Tesla filed a patent titled Art of Transmitting Electrical Energy Through a Natural Medium, which contained the design for something called Tesla's electromagnetic pyramid. Supplementing his genius with what he had learned about ancient Egypt, his idea was to use a huge pyramid-like structure to project energy skyward where it could then be harnessed by individual receptors around the world. Interestingly, Tesla actually built a model of his electromagnetic pyramid known as Wardenclyffe Tower, a 187-foot tall structure
this still stands today.
55-ton dome of conductive metal. Unfortunately, before he could conclusively prove that his model could create energy, Tesla lost his funding and the project was abandoned. And yet, even though Tesla's work on electromagnetic pyramids disappeared, the idea did not. Thanks to Tesla, many began to look at the Great Pyramid with fresh eyes, and specifically its original makeup covered in white tufa limestone blocks, which are known for unparalleled insulating properties, its tunnels and chambers beneath lined with granite, a well-known electrical conductor. Simply, this would have been the perfect layout if the intent was to create and utilize electricity. Little granite channels of electrical conductivity surrounded by insulation, not unlike copper wires encased in rubber in modern electronic devices. Moreover, it is known that the Great Pyramid was originally topped by a capstone of gold, one of the most electrically conductive materials on Earth, similar to how Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower was topped with a 55-ton metal ball. In other words, if the Great Pyramid was designed for electricity, its builders couldn't have done it better. And if it wasn't, well, in a historic coincidence, they'd accidentally stumbled into the perfect design. To add to the mystery, in 1993, a mysterious and inaccessible room was discovered after remaining hidden for thousands of years. Appearing to have deliberately been concealed by the structure's engineers, the room came to be called the Queen's Chamber and was finally explored in 2011 with a small remote camera to reveal something very strange. It contained carefully crafted copper wire and, more importantly, there were instructions painted as symbols onto the floor which appeared to show a clear wiring diagram. You can run an electric current through copper wire, and the coil will produce a short-range magnetic field. Add a second coil and the power's transferred from one coil to the other. A windowless room with copper wirings could create a higher potential on one wall, which transfers energy to the lower potential, consequently releasing electromagnetic energy into the confined space of the so-called Queen's Chamber. Indeed, so suggestive was the evidence that the idea continued to develop into modern times.
It's just perfect.
Christopher Dunn is a mechanical engineer who has worked for more than half a century at the
I love this
highest
guy as
levels
well.
of aerospace manufacturing.
Man.
In the 1970s, Dunn began to develop an interest in the mysteries of the Great Pyramid of Giza. At the same time as he worked his day job in the aerospace industry, he began spending his spare time researching the Great Pyramid from a mechanical engineering perspective. Slowly but surely, he came to the belief that there was more to the pyramid than it seemed. In his words, "I came to the conclusion that with such an investment of resources and the extreme precision which was crafted into the building, it was a building that functioned as a machine, and the machine was used to harness energy from the earth. I was inspired to research and discover how this machine operated."
Again,
For more than 20
mind
years,
blown.
he conducted this research, becoming a prominent expert on the subject, publishing dozens of articles and appearing as a trusted voice across mainstream television.
They were tuned to vibrate with the frequencies of the Earth, and they converted the energies of the Earth into electromagnetic energy.
In 1998, 1 year before
this is
John Cadman's
actual
legendary
engineers
experiments
saying
which
this.
proved the electrical capacity of the Great Pyramid, Dunn finally published his seminal work, titled The Giza Power Plant. The book meticulously described a system in which the Great Pyramid drew seismic energy from the Earth, producing electricity in the King's Chamber through the use of hydrogen created by a chemical reaction in the Queen's Chamber. So groundbreaking was Dunn's work that it inspired researchers around the world to follow his lead. For more than 2 decades, research has continued and expanded, becoming only more astonishing every year. In fact, more than ever, science, and specifically mainstream science, is taking the idea of the Great Pyramid as an electrical generator seriously. Indeed, in 2018, a study was published in the prestigious Journal of Applied Physics, which examined the Great Pyramid's response to radio waves, and concluded that the pyramid could in fact concentrate electromagnetic energy in its internal chambers as well as under its base, seeming to
Bro, why are we
confirm
still
the research
thinking
of Cadman
that it was just
and
a
the
tomb then?
ideas of
Like,
Tesla.
come on, man.
Then, in 2019, a new book was published by Egyptologists James Brown and J.J. and Desiree Hertog, entitled Giza's Industrial Complex, which built on the work of Dunn to suggest that the entire Giza Plateau functioned as an energy-generating system. According to the authors, the structures around and beneath the plateau were designed to activate a sophisticated process of water splitting, which would allow hydrogen to be used as a fuel source. As they put it in the book, there is good evidence that the Great Pyramid was a gigantic water processing plant to create electrified water. It is indicative of how far the idea of the Great Pyramid as an electrical generator has come that the book and the idea were not immediately written off as ridiculous. In fact, instead of being mocked, the book actually won awards, including the prestigious New York City Big Book Award. Again, now more than ever, mainstream science views the possibility of the Great Pyramid as an electrical generator as eminently possible.
Wow. But no, it was just a tomb apparently.
In pondering the grandeur of Egypt's ancient structures and the sophisticated technologies they imply, one compelling theory emerges: that these marvels are not solely the achievements of the historically known dynastic Egyptians, but rather the remnants of a far more advanced ancient civilization. This civilization, predating recorded history, could have passed down a wealth of knowledge and technological prowess, setting the foundation upon which later Egyptians built and thrived. Such achievements
And this stuff
prompt us
actually
to
exists.
consider the
Like, are we-
possibility that these were not the initial experiments of an emerging civilization, but rather the inherited legacy of a predecessor whose knowledge and achievements were monumental enough to influence generations long after their disappearance. This theory does not diminish the accomplishments of the dynastic Egyptians, but rather highlights a continuity of human achievement and the potential for civilizations to build upon the legacies left by their predecessors. It suggests that the ancient Egyptians were inheritors of a rich and sophisticated legacy, which they adapted and preserved.
Jesus. Mate, this stuff is so exciting. Like, I don't know what your thoughts are, whether you even care. If you don't, fine. But I am obsessed. It's something that has been, I would say, consuming my life, my interest for probably about 5 years. I've been looking into the pyramids and other sort of megalith structures from around the world. And I'm finally, in February, going to get my chance to go. And I am so excited. I genuinely cannot wait. But saying that, if you did get this far, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I really do hope that everyone had an amazing Christmas. I know I did. It was very relaxed, and I spent some really nice quality time with my family, which is amazing. Yeah, guys, if you like the video, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of this. So I really hope you did enjoy it, because otherwise you're going to be pretty bored. But you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.